Dear friends, welcome back to Automate with Rakesh. In this video, I am going to teach you many things around Orchestrator. As a beginner, it will be helpful for you to learn all those things I am going to show you in this video. So do not skip the video. Please do watch till the end. You are going to learn lot many things around the new Orchestrator. So why delay? Let's get started. The very first step, let us first log in to cloud.uipath.com. Hit on enter. So once you log in to cloud.uipath.com, click on this breadcrumb symbol and there you have your orchestrator. This is how you access the orchestrator. So now orchestrator is for the purpose of many things. You can manage all your automations through this UiPath orchestrator. Now how you do it, let us understand as a beginner point of view. Let's understand slowly. The very first thing what we will do, we will try to upload a project to UiPath Orchestrator. We will try to upload the automation project to UiPath Orchestrator, and how that is done. Let us first see that. For that, open UiPath Studio. And all the steps I am doing, please do it along with me. That is where you will learn. So keep your studio open, log into UiPath Orchestrator. So once these things are open, let us first create a project. So click on this, come to the start and hit on process. And let's type something. Let's say automation project 1. So let me hit on create. Now we will create a pretty simple automation, and this automation I would like to upload it to Orchestrator. So the main part is how will you upload it to Orchestrator? So here we have got the workflow. Let us simply add an activity. Hit on this plus sign and type message box. And here let us write something. Let's say I'm going to say, so we'll create an argument. Okay, I'll teach you a couple of important things. What I will do, I'll go to the arguments and here I'll create an argument called name. So now it is blank. There is no value in this argument. Name, it's blank. Now what I'm going to say here, I'm going to say hi, or I'll say good morning, and then give a space, and then it's supposed to write the name of the person, whatever we pass. So what we will do, we are going to use that argument that we have created, name. So what I have done, I've created an argument called name, and here I'm simply saying good morning plus name. So I have not passed any value yet to this. Now let me hit on save, and I'm going to hit on publish this project. Okay, give it some time. So this is the window which would appear. I'm going to simply hit on next, and here in the drop down, ensure you are selecting orchestrator tenant process feed, and I'm going to hit on next and hit on publish. All right, so now the project has been published. Let's click on OK, and let's go back to the orchestrator. Now once the project is uploaded from UiPath Studio, go to the tenant layer and click on packages. So here you should find that particular project which you have uploaded. So the project name is automation project 1. So in the packages tab, you would find that project. Are you able to see it? Have you uploaded? Great. Now once you have uploaded, what we will do, we'll create a folder first. Okay, by default it might be blank for you. So let me first delete some of the folders. I have got too many folders. The next thing what we will do, we'll create a folder. So it is for our own testing purpose, right? So what we will do, we will click on the plus sign under the folder and then give some name. Let's say test automation. I'm giving a folder name called test automation. And here let the option be tenant package feed. Package just now we saw, right? So from the tenant it will receive that. That is the meaning. So hit on create. So now what happened? Test automation folder got created on the left side menu. Let me go here and go to processes. Pretty easy. Have you created a folder? Okay. Once you have created a folder, then come to the process tab. automation, and then process tab. In the process tab, let us create a process. Process means what? The automation that you have uploaded here in the tenant layer. There are multiple layers, okay? This is the tenant layer. These are the folder layers. In the tenant layer, I have this particular project. Just now I have uploaded. I'll go to the folder layer. In the folder layer, if I click on automation and then click on processes, it is completely blank. I want that particular automation to get paired with this folder. That means get linked with this particular folder. It is there in the tenant layer. So how do I bring it here? Through the process. So let me create a process, add a process, and process means you are linking a particular automation to a particular folder. So here let us type that project name. So here the project name has already appeared, automation project 1. And we have created an argument in that. You remember name. And let me add some value here. For example, I'm going to say Rakesh and hit on save. So what is the value of this variable argument now? Rakesh. So it's supposed to say good morning Rakesh. So once you have done the settings, hit on next. Pretty simple ones, right? Easy. Hit on next. Display name, you can give any name you like or else leave it blank. So in this page, nothing much to do. Simply hit on create. Now close this. First close this. So what happened? The process, the automation which was lying here, right, as a package. Now here in the test automation folder, now it has come as a process. Process means I can run that process. So that is just a development package, and here you have a process which you can, where you can run the automation. So once you have created the process, I hope you have done it, right? Once you have created this process, then what you do, I want to run and see it. So you see a direct button here, start a job, or else you can go to job and hit on start and it'll ask you, okay, select your process. You'll select the process and do it. This is another way. The simplest way is I can simply go to the process tab and click on this button. So let's click on this button and let's see what appears. So the moment I do this, it is saying, okay, this is your process, your runtime. So here saying no runtimes available, validation failed. So let me see why this has happened. Okay, so now this particular folder, the new folder which I have created, if you find this kind of a problem, no runtimes available. So what you're supposed to do, go to tenant layer and go to manage access and edit the robot role, unattended setup, robot settings, not exactly here. What you can do is simply go to tenant layer, go to folders, select this particular folder, and here you have the option to assign the account. So here if you see, for this folder, only a user is assigned. So the robot is not assigned. I'll click on assign and type my robot name. Sometimes by default you would find it, but when you are creating a new folder, remember this. So unattended robot, I have selected my robot name, and then I would give it a role as a robot, and I'm going to hit on assign. So now you would see the robot is assigned. Let's go to the machine, click on manage machines, and this is the machine for my robot. So whatever your name is selected, if that happens to you. Okay, generally when you create a new folder, this could be a scenario which you have to add the robot account to so that you can run it, right? So I have added. So here, once, if that is the problem, otherwise you don't have to do it. Sometimes if you have set up a attended kind of a robot as a user, it'll automatically run it. If you face the problem, do this way. So now what happened, everything is done. Let me go back to the process and click on run here. Now if you see, the license has come. You can see one runtime available, one connected. Because I did not assign the robot to that folder, that was the problem. Now here in the account section, let me select the robot. Let me select the machine. Simple. On this page, look at it. Have you come to this particular page where it is saying one runtime available? If it is already showing it to you, no problem, nothing to do. And then have you selected your account? Have you selected your machine? If done, now all you do, simply hit on start. Now what would happen when you can see it is saying running. See, it is saying running. Now let us wait for a few seconds, and you can see the automation has started and saying good morning Rakesh. Now let's do one thing. What if Rakesh, I would like to change some value to Rahul. Let's say I would like to say good morning Rahul. How will I do it? Pretty simple. Go to the process, and here in the process, let's edit the process. And where you had that argument, right? The argument value. So this gives you the dynamic option. Pretty simple. I'm going to say Rahul and save it, update it, and once again run the process. You can simply come here and select start. You don't have to really select an account. Any available account will run. So you can see it's running and it's saying good morning Rahul. Do you see the value is changing dynamically? All right. So now you have learned how do you upload a particular project, automation project, to Orchestrator, and then how do you use the input arguments for a process. And you see both the times it showed different message boxes. First time it showed good morning Rakesh, and the second one it showed good morning Rahul, and you can keep on changing the values. Now what happened? The project has run, but again I wanted to schedule it. I don't want to run it manually. So here I'm hitting on start and then it is running. How can I schedule this? To schedule this, let me go to the triggers tab. Let me go to the triggers tab. In the triggers tab, you have something called add a new trigger. Click on this button. Pretty simple. And here, let us give some name. Good morning bot, or what is that? Automation project 1 you have given, right? Automation project 1. Trigger means schedule. Okay, remember this. Trigger. Trigger means scheduling. You want to schedule it. So here, process name, let me select. The process name is this one. Production unattended. I would like to run it in an unattended way. Execute the process one time. Account any robot. You can specify which robot you want. If you have multiple robots in your company, you would be selecting a particular robot where you like to run that particular process. Okay, machine you should also select the machine. Otherwise, if you keep it any machine, it can run anywhere, wherever which one is free, it will run there. If you are very particular, go ahead and select it. Okay, so once that is done, now let us understand when would you like to run. So to test it, I am not going to say hourly, then I have to wait for an hour to show you that output. I'll simply say minute by minute. Every minute let it run. I'm going to stop this trigger. Now I'm going to select minute by minute. You have multiple such options: hourly, daily, repeat every one time at so and so time you would like to run. So all those options you can go for in the real enterprise environment. Based on your need, you can do that. So here for testing purpose, I will simply go minute by minute. Okay, and I'm going to hit on add. So what happened? You have created a schedule for that automation. You don't have to manually go and run it. Now you have created a schedule. Now, if you wait for some time, right? If you wait for some time, it is going to automatically execute. See, the time trigger has been created. Similarly, you have got multiple different triggers: queue trigger, event trigger, API triggers. So as you advance, all these videos I have kept up, queue trigger and all of this thing, you can see it in my channel. But right now, let's wait for some time and see when it's going to automatically start. So let's wait. So in 3 minutes. So trigger details, it is saying every 5 minutes. I don't know why is it saying every 5 minutes when I have set it to 1 minute. Okay, so okay, minute by minute, repeat every 5 minutes, right? So let me make it repeat every 1 minute and update every minute. So now let us wait. It is going to start in next 1 minute. Let me refresh this. So you don't have to wait on this window. You can go anywhere and do your stuff. It will automatically anyway start. Okay. Okay, now only 5 seconds. 5, 4, okay, 1 second. Now the automation has triggered. Do you see? Automatically, without me clicking and starting it manually. You can see this is called unattended automation, where I have created a time-based trigger. Based on my time preference, it's going to start every 1 minute. Okay, so anyways, I don't want it to run every 1 minute, so I'm going to remove this trigger. Simply click on that 3 dots, hit on delete, and your trigger is done. So far we have seen the automation which we have created in UiPath Studio has been uploaded in this tenant package feed. Here the automation that you have developed has appeared. How about if I would like to publish this particular automation to a folder? So the next topic is how will you upload an automation to a folder in UiPath Orchestrator? How that can be done. For this, let's click on tenant and click on folder. Let us create a folder which can receive the package directly. It doesn't need to accept it from the tenant. It can accept the package directly on its own. For that, let's create a folder having the second option on. So let's give a name. I'll say test automation 1. I'll give it a name called test automation 1. And here the important part is you have to select create a new package feed for this folder. So this folder would have its own package tab from where it can accept. So once you do this, hit on create and the folder got created. Let's click on the folder and then go to automations, and here you can see this folder has a folder package feed. So anything I'm going to upload to this folder can appear directly here. So right now it is entirely blank. One thing that will come to your mind, can I compare? Sir, you have created a previous folder. So in that folder, is it there or not? How do I see? For that, let me hit on the other folder, go to automation, and here you can see that folder is not available because this folder was created using the first option. That means all the automation that I'm going to upload, it is supposed to receive it from this particular tab. And this folder we have created, if you go to automation, here it has got its own tab called folder packages. Now how do I upload? So let's see that. Let's go back to the studio. And in the studio, the very first thing you should do is here you should refresh. There is a small button here, white color button. Okay, just click on this refresh button. So the new folder that you have created on your orchestrator, that will automatically appear. So now if you hit on this drop down, you see test automation 1 folder is appearing. Select that folder where you have created a folder package feed. And then all you have to do, simply hit on publish, hit on next, and you're supposed to select here the option called orchestrator test automation 1 feed. Whatever the name you have given for the folder, you select that. So until now, is it clear? Have you created a folder? Have you selected this option? If you have done it, excellent job. Let's select this option and hit on next. So what I have done, I have selected that tenant feed. This is a very important option. First is you creating a folder with the package feed, and the second thing is you have to select this option orchestrator folder name feed. Okay, do not select the tenant process feed, you have to select this feed. Now hit on next and hit on publish. Because of that option that we have selected in the drop down, folder package feed, right? It is going to automatically push this automation to that particular folder. Let's see that. Let's go to orchestrator and go to the folder package feed. It got refreshed and you can see the same project has appeared in this particular folder. Generally, you will not upload the same project. You will be uploading different new projects based on the requirement. But again, for the learning purpose, that should be fine. So here you can see the project has been uploaded to the folder now. So when you do this way, what would happen? A process, when you have to create a process, simply hit on add process, and it is going to show you all the projects that has been uploaded to this folder. So here we have uploaded only one project. It is appearing. Let me select that. So once I select, let me provide some value. Let me give some value to the argument. Let's say Ramesh. You don't have to put double quote, simply say Ramesh and hit on save. Automatically the double quote would appear. Hit on next and create. You leave all this blank, it will automatically have that default name. Create and close it. So what happened? Now the process got created. Now in case you would like to run it, simply hit on start a job. Again, one more thing. See here again, no runtimes available. The same problem because you created a new folder. So all you do, for what I have said, you remember, you have to go to the folders tab in the tenant layer, select the new folder, click on assign if that happens to you, otherwise you don't have to. So here I have to type my robot name, unattended robot. In case you have doubt how you create an unattended robot, I have very specific videos. In case you have got a doubt, you can watch them. The roles for this account selected above, so I would say robot role and hit on assign. Okay, so what happened here? The robot got added. Go to the machine and even add the machine. Same steps and update. All right, so the machine got added, the folder, the robot got added. Now all you have to do, go back to the folder, hit on automation, click on this button, hit on start. Now you can see the production unattended is selected. You can say any user, you can select the specific robot and machine. You can select the host name and hit on start. If you leave it anytime, that's also fine for learning purpose. Okay, now it's saying running. Now you can see the new value that we have provided, Ramesh, has now appeared. So what is the thing that you have learned here? How can you upload the automation to a specific folder? The folder package feed. The important term is folder package feed. Now let's discuss more around the jobs tab. So you have seen, you have created a process, and when you run it, it becomes a job. So job is nothing but, if somebody is asking you what is a job, so you have an automation process. When you execute, that becomes a job. So here you can see the execution successful, fail, all the statuses are shown. Now I'm going to teach you a new technique. Is it possible, or how to record the jobs while the automation is running? How to record jobs is something we are going to see now. For this, I have selected a RPA challenge automation. These videos are quite available if you wanted to understand what is a RPA challenge. It's a website where you have to enter some data. And I have created my video. Let me show you the video. All you do, go to YouTube and search for UiPath for beginners. There's a recent video where I have shown, I think in the RPA, yeah, this one. Okay, UiPath beginners 2024. So in this I have taken the example of rpachallenge.com and shown how to build this entire automation. In case if you are not aware, or if you don't have, you can watch that video. So it is a simple automation, because my main topic is to teach you on Orchestrator. I don't want to spend time on designing this. So this is the automation which you can easily learn from that video. There are examples in case you don't have it. So let's imagine you already have this automation on your computer. Now what we will do, we'll hit on publish. I'll show you how this runs. Hit on publish and wait for a few seconds, and let me give some name. I'll give data entry automation. What is the name? Data entry automation. Hit on next, and I'm going to select the tenant process feed. I want to upload it to tenant. Hit on publish. Okay, now once it is uploaded from your studio, go back to Orchestrator. In the Orchestrator, click on tenant, go to packages, and you should be able to find this particular automation, data entry automation. I'll select any of the folder. Okay, I'm selecting one of the folder. I'll go to the process and then add a folder which is accepting packages from the tenant. Click on add process, and I'm going to select that specific process. If you don't find it, simply type the name. I got the name. So in this one, my focus is to show you how can you record the job. It is an interesting topic. How will you record it while the automation is happening? How can I record this? So why are you recording it? To see if something went wrong, something went right, you would like to really see it, right? So generally your automation would be running on a remote machine, right? It will be running on a remote machine. Right now for learning purpose, we are running the automation on the same machine. But in an enterprise, you would have a separate virtual machine on which the automation is exactly running. And you would like to see what happened there, right? That is where you need a job recording. So first you select, pretty simple, the same way what we have done. Select it, package requirement is nothing, so hit on next. So here, while creating the process, be careful, there is an option here called job recording. So when I enable it, it gives you multiple different options. Now I would like to record all jobs. You have options like record and stored failed jobs. When it failed, then only you record and store it. Successful ones I don't want. Record and store failed queue transactions. Record all jobs. So at the moment, let's go with the third option, record all jobs. Okay, so now the process, while creating the process, this is the option you would get, and then hit on create. You also have an option to take a screenshot. There's a video option, there is a screenshot option. I would go for video option and hit on create. So what you have done, you have created a process which can record while it is the automation is doing its job. You can record it. So let me hit on start now. Okay, and it's giving all these options where to start this automation. Let me select. Anyways, I have only one machine, so it doesn't matter if I leave it any machine and click on start. So now what is happening? It is saying pending. Just wait for a few seconds. Okay, so the automation has started, and you can see on my computer, because it is we are running the same automation in the same computer on my computer. That's why you can see it. Otherwise, it will be a remote machine or a virtual machine where this automation should be running, and you can't see it until you log in there, right? So this job recording helps you to see what happened, gives you that option. So let me go ahead and, so the automation is currently running. Let it complete. So you can see the automation simply making a data entry. It has opened a site and entering certain data based on an Excel file. Okay, so let it complete. I think most of you guys might have already done it. In case you are very new, you haven't watched my RPA beginners video, please do watch and learn all these simple ones. Pretty simple automation. So you can see, all right, I think this should be the last. Still we have few more. Lara, last name, phone number. So this is a dynamic automation. Okay, the fields are always changing. The first name coming on. So now it is completed, and you can see a data entry automation in the jobs. It said successful. From running, it has become successful. Okay, if you slightly minimize the screen, you can see it quite clearly. All right. Now what you do under the jobs, I would like to see the recordings. So what you do, click on this three dots. And then here you have something called, you have direct option open recording, or else you can simply hit on view logs of this job. Go with this option. So now here you have the job details, and here you have the option recording type open recording, or else there's a direct option came here called video timeline, and you can directly watch from here. Okay, so if you maximize this and hit on run, you can see all that we have seen just now, right, has been recorded. So this is a recording. So this recording is actually running within my orchestrator. Okay, so you can see it. So you can, go to the whatever time you would like to see, wherever it has failed you would like to see. So all these things can be done. So this is called the UiPath job recording, one of the new feature added to the UiPath Orchestrator. Next, I would like to teach you another important topic that is called asset. Have you heard about it? So if you click on any of the folder, this is a folder entity called asset. You would find here, or this, it goes to the same window. So what is this asset and how to use asset is something we are going to learn now. For this, all you do, come to this asset tab. It is an entity of a folder. If you go to tenant, you won't find it. You have to click on any given folder. It is particular to a folder, and you click on assets. So once you are on this page, click on this add asset. Click on this button. You get two options. Go ahead and select create a new asset. Now there are multiple different kinds of asset. This generally could be an interview question also. There are four types. One is a text asset, Boolean asset, integer asset, credential asset. It can store integer values, it can store text string values, it can store Boolean values. And the fourth one is the credential asset, which is mostly used. So if I have to log into an application, rather than hard coding the username and password, which is not safe, you always go with the asset. You create an asset where you store some value. And the same goes with any kind of a configuration you would like to store, some text you would like to store. These options you can utilize. Now for this, let's go with the credential asset. And let me create an asset and I'll give a name called uh, credential asset test. I'll give some name. Now the credential means it contains two things. One is the username, the other one is the password. Let's type something. So I'll say test one user and I'm going to put some password, whatever of your choice, simply type a password. Now what happened? We are just testing it. I'm going to show you in a website how will you do it after you understand this. So once you have done this, all you do simply hit on create. Okay, this is the Google one. I'm going to close it. So now you can see credential asset test got created. Let's go back to Studio and open a blank one. And here let us drag and drop if you have something, you can select and delete them. And here let us first drag and drop an activity called get credential. So the credential is now stored in Orchestrator. It is on the website. And this is your desktop application. So you have to use an activity called get credential activity. Pretty simple. Now in this get credential activity, it will ask you, okay, your asset belongs to a folder, Orchestra folder path. You select that folder. So if you hit on this drop down, it will show you all the folders that is there in your Orchestrator. So all you have to do, simply select the required folder. And then once you have selected, if you select this drop down, okay, remember this activity name, get credential. I'm trying to get the credential from Orchestrator. And here it will show you the name of that asset. Whatever name you have given, that will appear. Now here, this has got the two important properties. The first one is the username property. All you do, simply create variable and give some name to the variable. So I'm saying username. This is my first variable. And the second variable, create a variable and let me say PWD password. Okay, so there are two variables I have created. Now let me type into a notepad. Okay, so for that, let me open a notepad. So this is a notepad. Now on this notepad, let me type this username and password. First test it. Now for this, the very first activity you have to use is use application, because you are using application. The notepad is an application, right? So first activity you'll be dragging and dropping is this one. Indicate and then highlight your notepad. Done. Now here let me click on this plus sign and let me use the type into activity. In the type into activity, again indicate in the app where would you like to type. So let's say I would like to type it here. And it will ask you to validate, validation successful, confirm. And here I would be entering that variable which we have created, username. So what happens? This username variable will get the value passed from this activity. This get credential activity will go to test automation folder. It will read the credential asset from Orchestrator and then pass the value to username variable and password variable. So the very first one I'm trying to type is the username. The second one, simply copy paste. Okay. And here there's a property empty field for the second activity, because otherwise it will erase the first one. I'm saying none. And here let me use the next variable, which is the password variable. And remember, this password variable that you have created, PWD, yeah, this is the one. It is a secure one. So you have to select secure and then type that password. So what do I mean by secure? If you highlight this activity, you have created this PWD, go to the variable panel. You can see it's a secure string. Password is a secure string. It's not a normal string. So that's why while typing the password, you select the second option and enter the variable. Okay, done. Now so let us simply run this and see how it is working. So I'll simply run this and keep that notepad in the background. So let's see. So you can see it has typed in the some test password and username that I've created, right? Test1 user it has typed, and it has also typed the password. Great. Now let us really apply this to an application. This I have right? You have understood the logic, how it works. Now let us try to apply this to an application. You could be having any application where it requires a username and password. Let me tell you one of the site from UiPath called acme-test.uipath.com. Now this site is very useful. If you are learning automation, there are lot many exercises you would find in the RPA beginners tutorial which I've shown. There also have used this website, so you can register using this, or else any other website where you can enter your email and password. You can try that. So this is the application where I would like to enter email address and password and log in truly. So for this, let's go back to Studio. And in the Studio, the very first activity when you have to deal with applications is use application browser. Let me hit on indicate application to automate. I'm going to highlight this, click outside, it get highlighted, it captured the URL. Click on the plus sign inside the do section. Next thing what you want to do, you want to type. So type into activity, click on that. And here I will be first entering the username. So what you do, hit on indicate on Chrome, and then you select carefully, highlight that area where you would be entering the username. So this is the area. So now see, something went wrong. If it becomes wrong or red in color, that means it did not highlight properly. So click on this delete button. Let me try once again. Okay, now this is the anchor. That means it understands. Below this, there is the green area where I have to enter the value. So here validate. Pretty simple, right? Quite easy. Hit on confirm. Done. Now let me copy and paste. Next, what I will do, click again in this button and hit on indicate target on screen. And I'm going to indicate this password field. Next is password. Again, select the anchor and validate. It should say successful. Hit on confirm. So it is understanding which area it should enter. Hit on secure because the password, and type in the pwd variable. Now after once you enter, what you would like to do next is click on login, right? So use a click activity, click on it, indicate and highlight this login button, validate, confirm, and you are done. Right? So your simple automation is done, wherein it is accepting the username and password from the orchestrator asset, credential asset, and then it is entering those values in these fields. So here I think here I forgot to enter the username. Let me put the variable username. Done. So looks fine. Now let's do one thing. Let me close this and start running this automation. Let's see how it works. Okay. So the very first thing it will try to do is open that website. Okay, it has opened. It has typed the email user. So it happened very quickly. Let me go back. And it has closed the site actually. If you see, the site is not there. Now why this has happened? There's some mistake in the automation. So what is the mistake? Highlight this use browser Chrome. Okay. Close. Okay, here there's a called close. You say never, so you should not close it. So save, and in case you would like to see that input element, output element, um, input mode, hardware event simulate. So it is happening very fast. So I will keep it as hardware event, and delay between keys. So what is the delay you would like to put? Let's say I put seconds, right? 0 1 I'll put. Okay. 1 second delay so that I can see what is happening. The same thing I'll do it here. Delay between keys, I'll say 1 second and save this and run it just to see how it works. Okay, now let's see. It has opened the website. Now you can see it is taking a little time. Okay, so what is the mistake here? I have created, it is using the same credential, right? Test1 credential. So actually I have a different credential for Acme. Let me go back to Orchestrator and let's create an asset called Acme Credentials and select credential. So I'll enter the email address using which I have registered. And then I'll enter the password. Okay, done. And hit on create. So the new asset is created. Let's go back to Studio. And here all you have to do is select this second asset type, Acme Credential. Okay, done. I think the variable, everything remains as it is. No problem. I think the delay is taking a lot of time. Let me remove that. One second will take so many seconds to enter that. For the second activity also I have put somewhere, right? Delay between keys I have removed. For the first activity, yeah, remove. So let's simply try this once again. Save, run, and see. Okay, now you can see it has entered the password, hit on login, and finally if you go back, because I have asked him to not to close the application, now you can see I have logged in successfully. Understanding? So this is what you have learned on how to use an asset. Similar way, the other things I would like you to practice is asset, and there are other asset types. For example, text asset, Boolean asset, integer asset. You try this out and let me know the practical scenarios where you can apply this. Okay, think through this and try this on your own. Let's learn the next topic. So our next topic, what I think you should learn about queues. So what are queues first of all, and how is it being used in UiPath Orchestrator? Now let me ask you one simple question. You have seen the data entry automation where it was entering the data by reading from this Excel. So it is reading this row, entering, and then reading this row, entering. Now the problem with the Excel, it is prone to errors. It could be prone to errors. If you have large amount of data, then Excel could not be a right solution. Now queue, in the queue, using queue, all these limitations that you could face with an application. And again, when you are running automation which is dependent on Excel, that means in that machine you have to also install Microsoft Excel, or else you have to use the workbook activities. So there are so many other things that would come as a limitations. Now to avoid this, UiPath has got a feature. So he says, okay, why you are using why you have to entire processing you are using a Excel file. What you can do is you can use a queue. Queue is more like the Excel, like you see, it has the rows, it has the columns. The similar kind of a structured data, we can also store it in the queue. Now let us understand it. So your entire RE framework, there are a lot of advanced topic which you will be learning where you need to use the queue. So let us first understand what is this queue in simple way, pretty simple way with pretty simple example. Let's understand. Now for this, what you do, select a folder. So queue is an entity of the folders. If you go to the tenant, you will not see the queues. Queue is a part of your folders. It's part of your folder. It's an element of a folder. Select the folder and I'm going to hit on queue. And here I'm going to click on add queue and click on create new queue. Pretty simple steps. Now here to start with, I'm going to use Q1. What I'm doing, simply giving the name. There are so many other features which you would anyways going to learn I have got advanced topics on my channel from where you could learn all these advanced topics. As a beginner, let's do simple steps to understand the concept. So simply I've given a name and all other fields, I'm leaving it as default. I'm not changing it, and I'm going to simply hit on add. So what happened? A queue got created. Just imagine more, it's like a, kind of a Excel file which has rows and columns, right? You are storing rows and columns of data in an Excel. Just imagine in that way at the moment. So it's a queue, it's a component of UiPath Orchestrator where you can store rows and columns of data in the queue. Now, how to do that? Let me show you. Now, first thing what we will do, this is the Q1. Let's go back to the studio. How am I going to upload the data? There are multiple ways to do it. I'm going to show you through the studio. Open the studio. And in this, to upload any data, there is an activity. Simply type Q. Click on the plus sign and type Q. And you see add queue item is there. Then you have bulk add queue items. So let's go with add queue item first. So add queue item is the activity which would help. If you highlight your mouse, it will give you the definition. Adds a new item in the queue. The status of the item will be left as new. It'll be a new line. So add queue item. For that, first thing it will ask you, okay, where is your queue? Have you created a queue in Orchestrator? We have done it. Which folder? You select the folder. And then it'll ask you, okay, you might be having multiple queues inside that. At the moment, we have only one. So that one is reflecting with the name. So let us select that. Now, what are the items would you like to upload to the queue? What it's asking, what are the items you would like to upload to the queue? Now to start with, we'll simply click on this. So let's say I'm going to upload a name value and I'm going to pass some name, and then I'm going to hit on add entry, and I want to also store, it's more like columns, right? Name, then I'm creating one more column called email, for example, and I'm going to enter some email, Rakesh test @test123.com. Okay, let's say I would like to store one more column. You can imagine, just compare that with Excel. It'll help you to easily understand. So these are each columns and these are different values under that column. And then I'll keep another column, let's say phone number or mobile. And here let us enter some data, some random data. Okay, done. So these are the three columns to start with. 1, 2, 3, like that you can have n number of columns. So I'm just creating 3 columns and hitting on save. So now what we are doing, we are supposed to upload this data, Rakesh test. This is one data. Now if I go back to the queue, in the queue, if you click on these 3 dots and click on view transactions, you will see there is no data at the moment. It is completely a blank queue. Now I wanted to upload. To upload the data to the queue, this is the activity we are using. So we have given some data here. Now if I'm going to repeat this activity once again, copy, paste. Now you would say, I need to if I have to upload 10 rows, do I need to? No, you don't have to. There are other smart ways. For basic understanding, I am letting you know this. So there is another activity I have added. Now in this, I have just copied and pasted. Let us change the value. So here I will say Mahesh, for example. So I'm entering 2 rows of data, Mahesh, and here I will change it to Mahesh. And then let's enter some other numbers, some random numbers. Okay, done. Now I'm going to hit on save. Now if I run this, what is going to happen? So the understanding the concept is important. So when you run this, the first activity would run and it is going to upload this data. Then when the second one will run, then what would happen? It is going to upload a different data. Columns are same, just the values are different. Like in the Excel, the column name remains same and you have multiple rows of different values. Done. Now what I'm going to do, let us go to this debug and execution trail I'm enabling. It's not mandatory. It will just give you a tick mark while it is executing. So I'll go to design and I'm going to simply debug this or simply run this. So what would happen? All the values that you have provided in the activities, that is going to See, it got a tick mark. That means the activity's execution is complete. You can go to the output panel and see, okay, execution is complete in 0.1 second. So within a second, it uploaded 2 data. Next question that comes to our mind, okay, it got uploaded. Now where it will appear? So let's again go back to the queue. So this is the queue and you can refresh it, right? So once you refresh, click on these 3 dots and go to view transactions. So now you see there are 2 data. How many data are there? 1 and 2. Now I want to see the very first data. The first data comes at the bottom, right? So I'm going to open it, click on view details, and you can see Rakesh has come and the email address has come and the mobile number has come. Getting it? Now let us open the next data. Click on these 3 dots, click on view details. Now if you see Mahesh has come. So all these things were there in my studio. Now it got uploaded to the queue, to the Q1. And we just saw these values. Now just imagine these are the, you have updated some hundreds of data. Now you would say, do I need to repeat this activity 100 times? No. You can put a loop. You can use, there is another activity called bulk. So I can read the Excel file at one time and upload it. So there are multiple different smart ways. Bulk add queue items. Like that, there are different smart ways to do it. But at the beginning, just understand the concept. That is important. So you saw this activity is responsible. When you execute, it uploads the data, whatever you have provided. This much is understood. Now let me delete this activity. And now the data is already there. Now once the data is already there, what if now I wanted to read the data and show it here? How will I read the data which is there in the queue? Right? The data is there in the queue. I would like to read the data. So I need to pull it. One thing you saw, we pushed the data to Orchestrator. Now we will see how to pull the data from Orchestrator. Now to do that, all you have to simply use another activity. There's another activity called get. So these are called transaction items. Like in Excel, you called rows. In UiPath, you call these are transaction items. So this is one transaction item. This is another transaction items. So what I will do, there's an activity called get transaction item. Pretty simple. So I'm trying to get the transaction item from the queue. Here again, it will ask you, okay, now select the folder. I have selected the folder. Then it will ask you, select the queue. So what is the queue? It will automatically appear selected based on your selection of the folder. So now what this will do, it will pull the very first item. So the very first item is the bottom one. So it follows the rule called first in, first out, FIFO. FIFO, first in, first out. So the first in, that means the first data that you have uploaded was Rakesh. And the second data that I have uploaded was Mahesh. So the first data which would appear is Rakesh. Getting it? For example, I am going to use a message box. And in the message box, now this activity, when it pulls, there is a property called output. Now let's create some variable. Okay. So I will say it is called transaction item, right? So I'm saying T item. That means transaction item. I'm creating a variable called T item. That means transaction item. Now this T item variable is going to contain all the data. Once this activity executes, it is going to hold all the data. Now how do I see each of the data? Because this data is not a single data. This has got name, this has got email, this has got mobile, more like a Excel, 3 columns. Now how do I fetch all this data one by one? Let me show you how you can do it. So for example, I want to see the name. So I will say transaction item dot specific content. This is the method you have to use. What is it? Transaction item dot specific content. Let me write it in a bigger window. And then inside the bracket, you provide that name, the field name. So what is the column name we have given? The column name. So name, email, that is written in bold, right? Name, email, and mobile. These are the column names, and these are the values in gray color. In bold black, these are the column names. So you will take the name of all these columns: name, email, and mobile. Let's go back to Studio, and in the Studio, I'll take the name of that column name. Done. So what would happen when I'm going to run this? You can say .toString because the message box, and click on save. Without .toString also, it will work. So this is done. Now let me copy paste another 2 times, and only thing I will do is change this field from name. I'll make it as email. Ensure the spelling mistake is not done, else you might encounter error. So email, and what is the third column name? Mobile, right? So change it to mobile. Pretty simple. Simply you are taking the names that are present in the queue. View details and name, email, and mobile. Getting it? So you have taken the name and look at the format I have written within double quotes. I have written it and hit on save. Now, if I'm going to run this, save, and I'm going to run this. Now, when you run it, what would happen? It is going to pull all this data and show you in your studio. Now, once you pull, that means what you would like to say. It is now saying new. So once you have processed it, you have taken the data, you would like to update some value there. Instead of saying new, it can say successful. Successfully you have pulled. So there is an activity here called set transaction status. These are called transaction items, right? So set transaction status. We click on it. Set transaction status. So here you would again select the folder where that queue is there, and you would transaction item. So what is the transaction item variable you have created? T item. So you will specify that, and you would like to set that to successful, failed, all that. So I'll put it to successful. Now look at it, what's going to happen. Okay, I hope you have designed the studio until here. So if you have designed, let us save this and let us run it. Now look at it, how it is functioning. Now what happened? The very first value came, Rakesh. You see? And then what is the next thing? I want the email address. You can see the email address. Great. Now click on OK. Now what happened? The next thing that has appeared is the phone number. And then finally, the set transaction status would set it to successful. Means if you go back, you will see if you refresh this, it is new right now. Okay. Now it has become successful. Understanding? That means you have successfully used the data. Now if I run it again, so what would happen? This is successful. So the next data is Mahesh. Now if I run it again, it's supposed to pull the next data that is there in the queue. So let us do it. Let us go back to the studio. And here let me run it again. Okay. Now what happened? The very first data, the name Mahesh has come. Then what happened? The next data, Mahesh's email address has come. Then what happened? The phone number of Mahesh has come. And then the status of that item has been set to successful. If you refresh it, you will see this is also successful. That means you have utilized the data of that transaction item. Like you call rows in Excel, right? You call them transaction items or queue items. Okay, transaction items. So this much you have understood. Now let us see some practical example of this. Some example where we would really use this queue. This is just for understanding purpose. We have done it, right? We will see how to really upload the data. We call it as dispatcher, dispatching the data. And there's another called processing the data, or called performer. So dispatching and performer. So how that can be done practically, let's see it. Before we try to understand what is a dispatcher, what is a performer, all these terms you will hear when you learn advanced topics of RE framework. But at the moment, let us understand what is a queue. So you have seen the example. So what is a queue? The queue is a container which can hold various kinds of data in UiPath Orchestrator. So UiPath queue is a container, right? So do not say it is an Excel kind of a data. No, that is for your understanding. I have given that example, but again, it is a container which can hold data. Now let's understand dispatcher and all those things. Don't worry about all the terms. But right now, just understand, I would like to upload all this data that is there in the Excel. This data I have got it from this rpachallenge.com. Let me show you. If I go to rpachallenge.com, and all this I have shown in the video in the UiPath beginners playlist. So this is where you download that Excel file. Okay, so please do watch that video so you understand how that RPA challenge is being done, data entry is being done, how you build that automation. So here my purpose is, okay, if I have some data in Excel file, how can I upload the data to UiPath Orchestrator queue? Okay, so there are multiple different ways one can do it. I will show one of the way. One way is there is an activity called, simply if you type queue, there is an activity called bulk add queue items. There is also another activity called add queue item you just saw. If you wanted to use that, you can use a loop and loop through the entire data. If you want to do this, you can simply directly point the data and do it. Now let us use this activity, bulk add queue item. Okay, let's see this activity, how it works. So drag and drop this activity. First thing, you select the folder where your queue exists and select the queue name and then the data table. So it is the input that it requires is data table. You have to provide a data table variable. Now, how do you get a data table variable? Now, before this, we will use our activity read range. What is the activity I'm using? A read range. So this is an Excel activity. So any Excel activity, if you want to use, there is a use Excel. There's an activity called use Excel. Okay. Or simply type, come to the activities panel and simply type Excel. So you can see all different activities. So there is something called process scope. Like you have used use application process scope, right? Inside that you are doing all the application type into and all those things. Similar way for Excel, it starts with Excel process scope and then you drag and drop the use Excel file and you show that file where exactly that file exists. Click on this. So wherever that file is present, this is the file I'm going to point it out. Okay, so this file is pointed out and then I would like to read the entire data, right? That is my purpose. So for this, let's use an activity called read range. Click on it and here you say which sheet would you like to read. So there is only sheet 1 in that file. Let's double check. So sheet 1, yes, there's nothing else. So yeah, so I want to read that and I would like to save to a variable. So here I will create a variable called data table variable. So I'll simply say data table 1 or you can say dt1 and all those things you can provide. So I'm saying data table 1. Okay, this is the variable. Now if you go to the variable panel, you can see it's a data table variable type. So you have got the data. So this activities is going to read the data and finally it is going to put it to this variable called data table 1. Here all I have to do is simply pass this data table 1. So now see the variable is not appearing. And this generally happens because I forgot to select the scope. Okay, so go back where you have created the variable and here change the scope to sequence, your main sequence. Okay, now if you type it here, data table, it appears. Clear now? So here you are reading the data from the Excel and here you are passing that variable to the queue. Now let's see. Before we run it, let's go back to the queue. Where is it? Yeah. So here is the queue which last time we have processed 2 data. Now in the same queue, I'm going to add few more items coming from the Excel. Okay, so let's go back to Studio and in the Studio, I'm going to save this and simply run it or debug it. So let's see. So while running this, ensure you are not kept the Excel file in edit mode. Could not open the specified workbook. Make sure that the no other workbook with the same name already opened. So yeah, so I think somehow I have used a workbook activity. Okay, let's try again. I closed it. Okay, so it is now, it has opened the file and it is going to read all the data that are there inside the Excel file. Okay, so now you can see it is reading. Okay, so the read is complete. Now even the upload is complete. After this, let us go back to the orchestrator, and here let's refresh this one. Now if you refresh, so it shows you so many different items got added, right? So here you can see max 10 items. So you can see 1001. I don't know how come it to become 1001. Maybe some extra data was there. View details. So first name, last name. Okay, so for a certain reason it has actually read some blank data which might be there in the Excel file. Okay, so you can see lot of maybe certain blank data was present. So let me select everything, delete, delete. Let's go up, and if I highlight, okay, I see on 11. So now what happened? Because of this attempt, now my queue item has got so many unnecessary data. You can see 1001. So many unwanted data been entered here. Now, if you would like to revert back, this is slightly, you can select and remove like this one by one. Or else, if it is okay, I can go ahead and delete the queue itself and recreate the queue. But in our practical enterprise environment, you must not delete the queue because that might have a lot of transactions, a lot of data. So you retry it. It's okay if there are certain wrong data entered, you can still go ahead and retry. So you need to consult with the team and take an action. Do not directly delete anything. So now here, let me again create the queue with the same name, Q1, and add. Okay. Um, so done. Now let's go back to the studio and let me save it. And oh, there is no extra data. All right. Save this, minimize. Why it is not allowing the Excel file? It should actually allow, but let me run it again. Okay, so this time I think it took little less time, but I don't know. See, some processing is still going on. So somehow some hidden data is there in that Excel, but it's okay. We'll see. No worries. Okay, so now let's go back to the queue, refresh it, and let me hit on view transactions. See, 999. I don't know from where this data is coming from. In that Excel, it is maybe some hidden data is there. So you can see all first name null and null, everything is getting updated. But again, it's fine, right? So what we would do, at least it does the first in first out for learning purpose. So the first in first out data, the very first data which might have entered, must be from the top row of the Excel. So that has proper data. Now let's say how to enter it. We can create, so this is a dispatching. So I'm trying to dispatch the data to the queue. So you can create a separate process and do the dispatching task, and you create a new process once again for the performer. I mean that you would like to use the data and enter it somewhere. So what we will do, I think I had that automation. I think this one, right? Do you want to save the file? No. So you create a separate process where you would like to utilize the data from the queue. So that is called performer. So now I actually have this workflow, open main workflow. So this workflow, it will automatically, type in the first name, type into the last name of rpachallenge.com. Pretty simple workflow. All I have to provide is the data to this. So here, if you hit on import arguments, these are the arguments where I have to pass the data. Now, first thing I have to get the data, then I can pass it, correct? I have to first get the data, then I can pass it. So for that, we will be using RE framework. So there are a lot of advanced topic, but at the moment, we would simply use a single activity. You can use a loop, all those things. I want you to try on your own. So get transaction item. So this is the activity, and let me select the folder and let me select the queue. Fine. Now let's create a variable which is going to hold that data, the very first data. Create variable. I'm going to say transaction item. Now this transaction item data, I supposed to enter it here. So how do I do it? Simply hit on import arguments for the workflow. And I'm going to, so it is there in T item, right? So transaction item dot specific content. You saw this in the last one. And then the field name. So the field name was first. So you, in case you have a doubt, what you can do is, generally you can open the cube and see the field names. So any transaction item, let me open. So this is the field name, okay, first name. So it has a space, accordingly you have to write it. Go back to studio, and here let me enter that properly. Specific content, it did not copy properly. Let me copy it again. Okay, so here I'm just simply, I'll go with the first name. The same thing you have to repeat for all the columns. It's not a big deal. Dot to string. Let me apply it to one of the column. All right, and then hit on OK. Now if I'm going to run this, it is going to just type that first name. Now for this, what you do, open workflow, and in the type into workflow, for certain reason it has become very slow. Okay, so here in the first name field, because that is getting carried into the in underscore first name, right? So I'll use that argument. Pretty simple. Let's save this, go back and simply run and see how it works. Maybe I'll just minimize it. Okay, so you can see it has typed John. Did you see? And other options it could not. Okay, so here you see the first John, the very first value was John in the Excel file, just to verify. Okay, John. So it has typed that name there. So likewise, if I go back to the studio, likewise, all the fields that are there, right? The same thing, you just have to repeat it for all the fields. Like here I have entered specific content dot first name, similar T item dot specific content dot last name, phone number, email, company, all this you have to pass the values like this from the transaction item variable. So that way it is going to enter it everywhere. So I want you to build this and let me know in the comment section how many of you were able to successfully complete this particular task of uploading the data to the queue, and from the queue you are trying to fetch the data and process it in the rpachallenge.com website. You are doing a data entry automation. So do this using queue and let me know in the comment section if you were successful in completing this specific task. So thank you guys for watching. Let's meet once again. And I'm also one important thing. What is after this, right? What you should learn after this. So let me open my channel. So this is my channel, and here in the playlist, you have got several playlists I have created. So many playlists which would help you. So go to the bottom of this one and start. These are a couple of slightly old videos, but again, the concepts would definitely help you. The activities, the style, look and feel has, a lot of changes has happened over the years. But again, I would still recommend you to go through some of these videos, all this playlist, for example, Excel and data tables, UiPath key techniques, UiPath email automations. So if you go through this, there could be slight changes in the UI of the activities and the properties and all that. But again, you would get that understanding of those and keep on going through all this playlist. Important ones are like RE framework, Excel automation, regular expression, right? And then storage bucket, orchestrator, it is slightly old orchestrator, but again, just go through and understand all the different concepts. And then UiPath, VB.NET, birthday reminder, selectors, right? Enhanced selector. So likewise, there are so many different topics. Action center, document understanding. So advanced topics to beginners topic, everything is there. Keep following this playlist and I hope you would gain a lot of knowledge. We have got almost like 1,000 plus videos on my channel, and I believe all of them would help you to gain knowledge on UiPath. So thank you guys for watching. Let's meet once again in our next content.